OnePlus has made a name for itself in the Android space. While every company is trying to figure out foldables and dip their toe into it, Samsung has been doing this for a while. This is the 5th generation of the Z Fold, called the Z Fold 5. And this is the OnePlus Open, OnePlus's first foldable phone. Obviously, we got to compare them head to head. If you're new to my channel, which 90% of you guys are, then let me tell you how this works. I'm not going to talk about specs too much unless this is something that directly impacts how I'm using the phone. But most of this stuff will be my opinion based off using these devices. In my left hand, we have the OnePlus Open. In my right hand, we have the Z Fold 5. Now, looking at both of these phones, there are a lot of things that are different. Let's talk about pricing first. The Z Fold 5 is $1,800 for 256 gigabytes of storage. And the OnePlus Open is $1,700 for 512 gigabytes of storage. Both offer trade-ins, but the OnePlus is offering $200 for any phone in any condition. So that $5 phone on eBay with the cracked screen can be applied to this phone here. So firstly, the Z Fold is a skinnier phone, and that makes it easier to hold in one hand. And because of that, it's also taller. The OnePlus Open is wider, but the wideness doesn't make it feel as top heavy as the Z Fold. So for me, the wider phone is just easier to use. The Z Fold still feels too skinny for my liking, and I just find myself opening the screen to do everything on this phone, like send a quick text message. Where on the OnePlus Open, I don't have to open it, I guess, from time to time. To do simple things, I can just use the outside display. So let's keep the screen closed a little bit longer and talk about these cover displays. You know, the OnePlus Open's cover display matched the quality as seen on the Z Fold, but the OnePlus does get brighter and the refresh rate is variable from 10 to 120 Hertz. The brighter display comes into play in direct sunlight, but for me, in my real life scenario, I like the Z Fold's display since it goes dimmer than the OnePlus Open, which is very helpful at night. The OnePlus can be very blinding in the bed, even at the lowest brightness, and this goes for the internal display too, whereas the Z Fold gets extremely dim. In the hand, there is no doubt that both of these phones feel great, but the Z Fold feels more premium to me overall. When we open things up, this is where the OnePlus Open starts to take the lead. I feel that the Z Fold is stiff to open even after a few months of using this phone. The Open feels like the perfect amount of pressure for it to open up. It feels like it just snaps into position, where the Z Fold, you need to press it a bit more. The hinge on the Z Fold is smaller, but that doesn't truly matter day to day as both phones look great. When having both of these screens next to each other and watching YouTube, the Z Fold does get brighter, but that could be something software related. We'll talk about software later in this video, but this is software pre-release, meaning some of these weird bugs could be expected, and most likely this is one of them. Because when watching Netflix or direct video sources, I wasn't seeing this at all. So overall, both displays are great. I do have to give a lot of credit to OnePlus. The crease is far less visible than Samsung's, and it's actually the least visible crease I've seen on any folding phone. And also when rubbing your finger over it, it's hardly noticeable. The Z Fold screen has some great things going for it too. The under display camera gives you full immersiveness compared to the hole punch on the Open. But when looking at the Open and using it, that large screen is amazing. It has realistic colors and that crease though. Yeah, you got a full winner here with the OnePlus Open. So in my testing, the OnePlus Open has a better speaker system. So we talked a lot about what makes foldable great, is that they can fold. So let's talk about the next part that every phone can do, and that's take pictures. And both phones do an amazing job in the camera department. If you want to dive into specs, here you go, but I don't care about specs too much on a camera. I just care about how the images look. I do want to call out OnePlus for putting out their best camera ever made into this phone compared to Samsung, which didn't put its best camera system in this phone at all. This camera system is actually a few years behind compared to the Galaxy S23. OnePlus Open walking and talking shot. How does this look to you guys? Could you rock with this? Z Fold 5 walking and talking stabilization shot. What do you think, guys? I think it looks pretty good. So this is the OnePlus Open front-facing camera. It is shooting at 4K 30 frames per second. It is pretty windy out here, so I wonder how the microphone is getting rid of the wind. One thing about the OnePlus Open that OnePlus did was talk about the camera system a whole lot. So I'm definitely going to be testing it under different scenarios. Okay, ZFold 5 front-facing camera. Now this does go up to 4K 60 as well, so that's 1 point over the OnePlus Open. It's a decently windy day, so I wonder how it gets rid of the wind sound coming into the microphone. But of course, I want you to compare these two directly. When taking a look at video, I find that the OnePlus Open is a little bit over sharp, but I do like the colors a whole lot better. So if I had to pick one camera overall, I do like OnePlus. I just like the colors a whole lot better. Taking a look at these buildings in the background, you can see the colors in the tree a little bit more. And then we take a look at these zoom levels. Now, one thing I will say is that the OnePlus does have this weird jelloing effect at the longer focal distance on video. I wonder if that's a bug or is that something we're always going to see. Going to still images, you can see that the Galaxy Z Fold, in my opinion, I think is a better camera. Like, look at the sky here. Look at those blues. That is more accurate compared to what OnePlus has. And then we punch into this image right here, and there's more dynamic range on the tire. And I think some of these images, they're pretty much the same back and forth when you compare the two. So that means the OnePlus really did a good job at keeping up with the Z Fold. Now in these low light images, both phones did a really good job, but I feel that the Z Fold did better when it came to the front facing camera in low light. Kind of more of the same. Both images looks really good going all the way through, but I do like the OnePlus skin tones a little bit better compared to Samsung. When it comes to zoom levels, there's a pretty significant difference. So if you see all the way down there, see if I can zoom in, all the way down there is like a pavilion. It's pretty far away. And here we have 120x zoom, which takes me all the way down to that parking sign. Where here we only have a 30x zoom. So look, I don't plan on doing 130x zoom, right? But at the same time, having that technology baked into a phone, no matter how bad it is still pretty cool to see. I wish I could spend more time to talk about software, but in all fairness, OnePlus said their software will not be complete until the 11th of October. So if anything comes out that is completely different, I will definitely update this video, but also be looking out for my 30 days later with this phone video that I'll be pushing out in a few more weeks. So when looking at software, if there were any weird bugs, I did write those things down, and I would definitely wait until the updates to really talk about those. With most foldables, they feel just like big phones, and that was the Pixel Fold's problem. However, with the Open, I won't say it's fully solved, but they definitely did a great job at trying to solve this. With Oxygen OS 13.2, there's a feature called Open Canvas, which feels like a desktop when it comes to multitasking. And this allows for 3 windows to be open, and you can drag and drop between them or just quickly tab through each app. Then you have a bottom taskbar, which also shows recent apps and apps you have also pinned, and you can also see your gallery from here as well. Now this taskbar reminds me of what Samsung does with their Z Fold, and you have the same type of taskbar at the bottom, but you can't pin apps and access your gallery quickly like you can on OnePlus. I'm sure within software update, they can definitely change this if they need to. As far as multitasking, Samsung has opted to do window in window. And also there's floating windows too. I love how OnePlus is doing it, giving you a little preview of each window, but still giving you access to most of the screen. Sure, I would say with the Z Fold, you see more information at one time, but it doesn't look like a clean setup. Now beyond that difference, both of these phones have a very similar software experience, and also giving you access to the back camera via the cover display, or even seeing the images as you snap. So software wise, I think it's a crapshoot. You have to determine which software suite you like better. I actually do love what Samsung is doing with One UI, so I'm gonna give the nod to Samsung. OnePlus does a great job with Oxygen OS as well. Performance wise, they feel the same. Going back and forth between both phones, I felt like they were both extremely snappy and they ran all my apps and games without a problem. I love using CapCut to edit short form video, and using it on these phones, they both edit and render nearly the exact same speed. Gaming is a lot of fun. So rounding this up, we got to talk about battery life, and I'd say on both devices, you won't have a problem getting through a full day. But when going back and forth between devices on normal days, the OnePlus Open was better. And on average, I went to bed at around 22% on the OnePlus Open compared to around 14% on the Z Fold 5. And also a big advantage that OnePlus has is that it includes a fast charging brick in the box, which can be charged from 1 to 100% in around 40 minutes, where the Z Fold 5 takes around 85 minutes to charge, and you need to provide your own charging brick to do so. The OnePlus Open has exceeded my expectations, and it's hard to call the Z Fold 5 a better phone. The OnePlus has a lot of great things going for it. It's a better value, and also I think it's just a better phone.